If you're watching me from outside of the United States of America and you're like, Jesus, I wonder what it's like in the United States right now. Is it as bad as they seem? I've got the perfect analogy for what it's like living in the United States, okay? I vote for a name change. We should stop calling it white supremacy and start calling it white narcissism. And I'm going to tell you why. I was reading a book called Fear of Black Consciousness by Lewis Gordon. And something clicked so hard, y'all, I had to put the book down. Because I just needed a minute to process. Because a lot of what we describe as supremacy doesn't actually look like confidence or dominance. It looks like insecurity. It looks like fragility. It looks like people losing their minds the second they're not centered. And that's not supremacy, that is narcissism. Yeah. So let me explain what I mean. Malignant narcissism is basically when entitlement, lack of empathy, and obsession with control mixed with aggression. It's not just, I think I'm great. It's, I deserve to be centered, obeyed, deferred to. And if I'm not, somebody has to pay. So now let's look at the real world, right? Why does somebody lose it when a Black person talks about racism? Why does teaching accurate history feel like a personal attack? Why does someone crash a conversation about police violence and make it about their feelings? Why does equality feel like oppression? That's not the behavior of someone who's secure in power. That's the behavior of someone whose identity only works if everyone else stays small. Lewis Gordon talks about how whiteness gets treated as the default for being human. So when Black people speak from our own experiences, it feels like a disruption, like we're making it about race, even though race was already baked in. Everything is about race, everything. And that's where the narcissism shows up. Because narcissistic systems don't just want dominance. They want validation. They want to be admired, obeyed, and never questioned. Look at the examples. A Black athlete kneels quietly, and it's a national meltdown. Black students ask for inclusion, and it's, why are they dividing us? I say that ICE is actually modernized slave patrols. And I get white people in my comments who admittedly do not have Jewish ancestry saying, no, ICE is a Gestapo. Shut the That's not supremacy acting calm and assured. That's narcissism reacting to a loss of control. Malignant narcissism can't handle criticism. It can't handle boundaries. And it definitely can't handle being told you're not the center of this story. That's why the reaction is always rage, denial, or rewriting reality. And Lewis Gordon points out something really important. When people insist that their behavior is just human nature, what they're really doing is universalizing themselves. Everyone is like me. Everyone thinks like me. So if you don't, you're the problem. That is textbook narcissism. This system doesn't freak out because it's losing power. It freaks out because it's losing attention. So yeah, I'm voting to change the language. Because white supremacy sounds like strength. And what we're dealing with is actually a system that can't survive without admiration, dominance, and silence from everyone else. That's not supremacy, y'all. That is white narcissism. I vote.
Okay. She got a point. Okay. She's got a point, man. Real shit. Anyway, yeah. I never thought about it like that, but I mean, that's the only point. That's the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and other righteous men underneath them have been teaching this thing, this exact same thing for over 30 years that I know of. I found out about it back in, 2017. I started learning which group to follow in 2018. I found Great Millstone the latter part of 2018, 2019. I started preaching in the wintertime of 2019. Okay. At the time, I was writing down biblical scriptures and writing it down, trying to practice memorizing biblical scriptures. I've been doing it ever since. You see what I'm saying? So I haven't been in the truth that long. But yeah, what she's saying is the truth, man. I didn't look at it as narcissism, because I didn't look into the definition of narcissism. So, but yeah, yep, that's it. Anyway, fair use. This video is for educational, educational purposes only, pretty much. Okay, because hell, I just learned something right then. Okay, and from a different perspective, or from a non-biblical perspective. I just learned. I'm like, wow, man, that is okay. So these motherfuckers truly are white fragility. Oh my God, I had to go get that one. Let's get it. White fragility. Definition. White fragility. Noun. Right?
White fragility.
Discomfort or defensiveness on the part of a white person when confronted by information about racial inequality and injustice. Damn! Origin, early 21st century, coined in a 2011 journal article by the U.S. academic and educator Robin DiAngelo. Right? What is the meaning of white fragility? White fragility triggers a range of defensive moves that white people exhibit when confronted with uncomfortable truths about race. They're not white. They're Edomites. White and black were social constructs created in 1681 on what is called now West Virginia during at the installation or the installment of the 13 colonies, because so-called white women were choosing black husbands, dark-skinned husbands, indigenous husbands, because we were superior. We were taller, we were stronger, we had more stamina, we were clean. White people had never seen, especially white women, had never seen anything so beautiful as a so-called black man. Okay? They fell in love instantly. I must have him. I must have him. Okay? And boom, women were in droves filing for divorce from their husbands in the 13 colonies in order to be with the so-called savages, okay, that these Edomites call. You know, they created the racial inequality based on white and black in 1681. At that time, before then, women were choosing to be enslaved with the so-called black and indigenous population of people just to be with their men and forego being a white woman or white person. Okay, all fucking together. Didn't care. They wanted to be with their man because the white husbands, we all know, okay, the white husbands, these individuals were into popping little boys. They were into little children. Ain't no secret. You see? These moves include the outward display of emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and behaviors such as augmentation, silence, and leaving the stress-inducing situation. Okay? What are the 3 defensive traits of white fragility? Journalist Peter Baker has suggested that behaviors associated with white fragility may include silence, denial, accusations of reverse racism, or emotional reactions such as anger or frustration in interpersonal situations. Okay. No. Can 2 Caucasians have a black baby? No. Okay. No. I don't even know why I pushed on that shit. What does whitewashing mean in slang? The abandonment of a tarnished identity and creation of a blank one. Okay? Did they not whitewash history? All right? Their tarnished history is what these devils are running from and what they're ashamed of. How they got that supremacist ideology ingrained into their fucking brain from generation to generation. It is through generational wealth from the generational destruction of another people. You stole the land, you stole the wealth that was in the land, you enriched yourselves, and you enslaved the indigenous population of people you stole the land from. For over 250 years, you have a 250-year head start on any other race on earth. Then you get mad and pissed off when the other nations and races of the earth come to the land that you stole and set up for yourself where you could reign supreme, okay, and they start getting above you, telling you what to do, being your supervisors, your managers, your engineers, and you get pissed off about that. So you want white privilege and white supremacy because your white fragility and your cracks in your supremacist ideology are showing. Okay? That's what the woman just said, man. The same words. You motherfuckers are so jealous of us. You have DC Legends. You have Luke Cage. You have Jessica Drew. You have Daredevil. You have Aquaman. You have Superman. You have Wonder Woman. You got Batman. You got the Flash. You got Blue Beetle. You got the X-Men, the Avengers. Okay, the Defenders. You got all of these individuals jealous of the spiritual power coming to the 144,000. Your history of how you became rich has tarnished, and so you try to cover it up with a blank one. Right? That's the purpose. Right? See? So, white fragility again.
White fragility.
Discomfort and defensiveness on the part of a white person when confronted by information about racial inequality. It says no. White fragility and narcissism aren't the same, but they share a significant overlap, so they're the same. Significant overlap. They're the same. You see how motherfucking Google search engine, they got this bullshit in order, man, come on, man. No, white fragility and narcissism aren't the same, but they share, yeah, they're not spelled the same, but the meaning is the same, right? But they share significant overlap, with some theories viewing racial superiority and privilege as forms of pathological narcissism, while white fragility as a manifestation of this when confronted with racial realities similar to narcissistic rage. Both involve entitlement, defensiveness, a need for superiority, and an inability to handle criticism, but narcissism is a broader personality trait, while white fragility specifically refers to the reaction of white people to racial stress and challenges to white supremacy. It's the same fucking thing. What the fuck? Okay, hold on. Similarities and overlap, entitlement and superiority. Both concepts involve a sense of being inherently superior and deserving special status, rooted in white supremacy or personal grandiosity. Defensiveness. Both manifest as hypersensitivity to criticism, leading to defensiveness, anger, or withdrawal when challenged. Fragility. White fragility is a specific type of racialized defensiveness akin to the fragility found in vulnerable narcissism, where ego is easily wounded. Right? Damn, I should have put ego in there. Okay. Pathological narcissism. Some psychoanalytic perspectives frame white racial superiority and privilege as pathological narcissism, while maintaining racial dominance fulfills narcissistic needs. Okay? Narcissism is a personality disorder or a trait affecting interpersonal functioning broadly, while white fragility is specific, a culturally situated reaction tied to racial power dynamics and white supremacy. So, white fragility is based on the culture, and narcissism is a personality disorder or a trait affecting interpersonal functioning broadly. Okay? So, white fragility and narcissism go together. Okay? They're not the same. They overlap, but they're not the same bullshit. They go together, hand in fucking hand then. Nothing else makes any sense. Anyway, just a quick video. That was something I seen on the TikTok. Like I said before, fair use. Fair use. Okay, fair use. This video is for educational purposes only, man. I just wanted to get some education out there to back the sister up, man. Because, wow. Okay. Yeah. Narcissism and white fragility are the fucking same. White supremacy. Right? Hell yeah, I vote for a name change too. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Shalom.